When we sold our first company, it was quite a process. The company that bought us actually started as a strategic partner where they were interested in use of the technology for a very specific application. And so the process took months to complete, starting with them actually buying from us, product from us, evaluating the product, and then going through due diligence. And in total, the overall process took about 9 to 12 months to complete. What I didn't know when I went into that process, and I'd wish I'd known, is that there are many routes to an event that would lead to an exit out of a startup company. In some cases, it's a straight up acquisition. In some cases, it's a licensing. And in other cases like this one, it was a partnership process where the strategic partner liked what they were seeing enough and felt that they could do a better job of the commercialization, that partway into that process, they opted to acquire our company. I think understanding and seeing the full playing field in terms of options for those kind of activities is an important thing to learn and to see. And it's actually something the R2M program gives some exposure to.
In a way, starting out this whole thing, I didn't have any idea what to do. And I still feel like I, in some ways, don't really know what to do. But the R2M program really, that changed it pretty dramatically. I still feel very much I'm as a novice with respect to, business in general. But I think it prepared me in a way that I, just to, have insights in what it would take. And so that, part of that was also finding out you really need the right people to help you on that. And you can provide a lot of the creative leadership and the innovation, but in order for it to be a successful company, there's a lot of other stuff that we need to be able to do, and we're not trained to do that as academians. And I think the R2M program, if nothing else, taught me a lot about what I didn't know and what I really couldn't do very well myself, and would need to get help to do that successfully. So I think that's was a big positive outcome of being in the program.
What we didn't know was what we didn't know, and this process helped us understand how to collect data as rigorous scientists, but in an application sense where we could validate the value proposition of what our ideas or technology was with particular customer segments in the industry. In our case, our soil additives with different farming communities and farming groups, to understand if it brought real value to those particular customers.
One thing I wish I had known when I started was how to better judge when technology is ready to be commercialized. So I started my company before we had any working prototypes. We had none of the components even had been developed. And I was very fortunate to be here at CSU, where people have a lot of common sense and like to work hard. And also we have a pretty incredible ecosystem of local investors that are willing to invest early on and to be patient. Now that I look back, it's been 10 years. We finally have good working prototypes. It turns out that a decade is pretty common in the battery industry, but I didn't know that at the beginning. So I think it probably would have been better if I had waited a couple of years to have a little bit more of a proof of concept prototype in place. And that might have accelerated raising larger amounts of funding so that we could accelerate the process to manufacturing.
I thought about the question of whether there are things that I wish I had known. In many ways, I would say that I was introduced to everything I needed to know, but I probably didn't internalize how important they are. I didn't always understand the importance of getting the team right. But along the skills learned along the way were how to scope an opportunity, how to park your judgment and think enthusiastically about an idea, but then turn the switch and then be able to do critical evaluation. Always thinking about how you put together a resource plan and the finances to do something. And then one thing that I didn't anticipate is that as an entrepreneur, you really have to think about how to pitch your idea and sell it to someone. And I find that a skill that I use almost every day, thinking about how to take a goal that we want to achieve and frame it in a way that would be understood to the particular audience that I'm dealing with, and figuring out how to sell it to them in a way that is really a win-win for everyone involved.
Success does not happen overnight. That it's a marathon. I think we get into this thinking that it's going to be quick and we're going to find investors and we're going to have a market, that we know exactly what we're addressing. And it's, again, I keep going back to this iterative process, but it's important to recognize that this is a marathon, that there are going to be long nights. There's going to be, ups and downs, but success does not happen overnight. We lean on having good advisors. These are veterans who have gone through this process. So it's important early on to find advisors who are familiar in your industry sector as well. I would say that's been really important to Cyvec's success so far too.
What I didn't realize is what I didn't know about everything else it took to scale a company. There are so many roles, and there's so many challenges and gaps in expertise that no one person can bridge them all. It takes a team to be successful in business. It just does. As a co-founder, what I realized is it takes an awful lot of flexibility and surrender to give and allow people with more expertise than yourself to come in and fill the roles, to bridge your gaps. A young company can be your baby, and you can treat it like one. That means you covet it and hold on to it, and you want to control it. And if I made any mistakes, it was not letting go soon enough and allowing people authority and people to come in and take leadership within certain aspects, within certain roles of the company. And I'll tell you, it just doesn't work any other way.
I don't know. There's also like a lot of lessons that I think I wish I learned early. I mean, simple stuff like legal strategy, like how soon you get an NDA with the company, setting up like quotes for companies. I mean, something as simple as like, how do you set up a quote to go to a purchase order, to go to an invoice, and like payment terms, like what's net 30. I mean, this sounds silly and it might be a little ahead of what RTEM's going for, but I think those are some key things that I wish I knew. I mean, how do you found the company? That's another question. Like who gets what equity, who should be a co-founder? Like what does a board look like? How, like who gets what titles? What do employees get? What should be an employee option pool? The other thing is like, how do you talk to tech transfer? What's a win for them? So stuff like that, I think is also important.